find extraordinary, and it's this, Lindy, which is he's on record, Mamdani, as wanting to defund the New York Police Department.
Thank you, Piers. I was
calling
just
them
bring that up.
and calling them a bunch of racists. I would have thought, I mean, call me old-fashioned, but anybody that literally posted that the racist NYPD should be defunded.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I just stumbled across this clip of a heated debate between Vinny and Marc on Piers Morgan Uncensored about NYC mayoral candidate Mamdani, and honestly, you'll see just how the left tries to deflect from disqualifying red flags with whataboutism and technicalities. They're literally defending someone who wanted to defund the NYPD becoming mayor of New York City. Make sure you watch until the end because Vinny absolutely destroys their entire argument with receipts they can't dodge. Please comment down where you are watching from. It's great to see people from all over the world connecting here. All right, now let's get into the video.
People were like,
"What do you mean pandering to gay? What do you mean?
Right?
What do you mean pandering to gay people?
He was pandering.
You mean trying to campaign to his voters?
I'm going to finish right now because there's something.
Okay,
you know where he's
do.
from? Uganda. Do you know how Uganda treats gay people? Have you been to Uganda?
Yes.
Have you heard what Ugandans do?
Is Mamdani responsible for
he's a Muslim dude from there.
This is what I'm talking
and
about.
what he's practicing, Piers, what he's practicing is called taqiyya, okay? It's a practice in Islam, all right, Piers, that you deceive and you lie about stuff just to have people to further your Islam agenda. You're being
hang on,
duped,
Vinny,
bro.
Vinny,
You're being duped. He's a liar.
Hang on,
He's a liar.
Vinny. Hang on, just because he's from Uganda doesn't mean he agrees with all the policies of Ugandan governments or all the laws.
No, he's Muslim, Piers. He's Muslim. He's Muslim. How do Muslim people feel towards gays? Are you guys lost? Are you lost?
Well, there are many Muslims who have no problem with gays.
That's Muslim, bro. That's a Muslim.
Yeah, but there are many Muslims who have no problem with it.
Can I just a couple of facts here? Because this is all really...
Hang on, let me bring in Marc and then Lindy. Marc.
Okay, a couple of things, just to inject some facts. One, taqiyya isn't about lying, and taqiyya is about concealing your faith as Muslim to get over, ostensibly in times of danger. At no point has Mamdani pretended not to be Muslim. If he had, you wouldn't be here arguing like this. Second, let me finish. Second, yes, he's from Uganda, where gay people often are harassed and killed, and there are anti-gay policies in Uganda. You know who they're organized by? Christians, not Muslims. If you just Google or read one book on Uganda, you'd understand that this is a Christian practice, not a Muslim practice. Third, when we talk about Siraj Wahaj, who's the imam who he was in a photo with, there's absolutely no evidence that he was in the room with 9/11 conspirators. That's not even being alleged by the prosecutors.
We're not even talking about 9/11. We're talking about the World Trade Center bombing. Two different things.
Please allow me to finish.
We're talking about World Trade number one.
Please allow me to finish.
You're not even getting the timeline right.
I accidentally said 9/11 as opposed to World Trade Center. That's not the point. I concede. I said the wrong word. Now I'm going to replace the wrong word with the right word, which is World Trade Center. The point still is the prosecutors don't allege that Wahaj was in the room. So there's no evidence of that, even by the people who you're appealing to for evidence. Wahaj took a picture. A better comparable example would be when Donald Trump takes a picture with Joey Merlino, the convicted mob boss, right? He did it because he didn't know who Joey Merlino was. So Wahaj,
but what about this?
Who I don't believe,
all right, Marc.
Who is not a terrorist. I don't want to claim imam and celebrated in Brooklyn for his acts in the community, and that's what he was being praised for.
Look, time out.
What does co-conspirator mean?
Hang on, Lindy. Hang on. I think we've discussed this particular part of the Mamdani story enough. Here's the thing that I find extraordinary.
Okay, I need to address what just happened here because Vinny is making a critical point that Marc completely glossed over. When Vinny brings up taqiyya, Marc immediately jumps in with, well, actually, taqiyya isn't about lying. But hold on, let's be real here. The core issue isn't whether Mamdani is secretly hiding his faith. The issue is whether his public positions actually match his private beliefs, and that's a fair question to ask about any politician, regardless of religion. Now, Marc tries to redirect by saying, oh, the anti-gay policies in Uganda are Christian, not Muslim. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is that Mamdani comes from a culture where these views are normalized, and voters deserve to know if he's genuinely evolved on these issues, or if he's just saying what progressive New Yorkers want to hear. That's not Islamophobic. That's called vetting a candidate. And here's where Marc really loses me. He compares the Sirajwa photo to Trump taking a picture with a mob boss. Are you serious right now? Trump takes thousands of photos with people at events. But when you're photographed with someone connected to the first World Trade Center bombing, that's not just a random photo op. That's a pattern we need to examine. Marc can play semantics about whether Wah was in the room or not. But the association is there, and New Yorkers who lived through that terrorism deserve answers, not dismissive comparisons. The fact that Marc has to immediately jump to, well, what about Trump, tells you everything. We're not talking about Trump right now. We're talking about someone who wants to run New York City, and the standards should be higher, not deflected.
And it's this, Lindy, which is he's on record, Mamdani, as wanting to defund the New York Police Department.
Thank you, Piers. I
And
was just
calling
going to
them
bring
a
that
bunch,
up.
and calling them a bunch of racists. I would have thought, I mean, call me old-fashioned, but anybody that literally posted that the racist NYPD should be defunded, that would be disqualifying to be mayor of New York. And yet here he is, mayor of New York.
Why would that be disqualifying?
Piers, amen. Thank
Why
you for
would that be
bringing that up.
disqualifying to
This
say
is
you
New
should
York City.
defund the NYPD?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
New York City.
what's the answer to the question?
Marc, it's my turn.
Let Lindy
Please
go
finish.
first, and I'll let you
I'm
respond.
not cutting you off. I'm asking a question.
Please, let me finish. 40% of unsolved murders, this is New York City, the biggest city in the country, and 40% of murders have been unsolved. And he wants to defund the police? Yeah, okay. And then according to some studies, 25% of New York, they want to flee because of his policies, okay? He's on a speedway to hell. And another thing is, Marc, I felt like I was talking to, what's his name? Frank Luntz. I felt like I was listening to a new age therapist. Like, is he crazy? He wants to put forward people like Wes Moore and Cory Booker. Let's go through his people. Like, for example, Cory Booker tried the presidential campaign thing already. He was polling at 1 to 2%. Okay, so we already tried that. The trial balloon failed. Number 2, Wes Moore, he lied about getting a Bronze Star. These are the people that Frank Luntz wants to be the face of the Democratic Party? Then please, sounds good to me. And then he talks.
Wait, did Piers just ask the question that should have ended this debate before it started? Mamdani called the NYPD racist and wanted them defunded, and somehow he's mayor? Marc's about to defend this. Watch what happens next, because this gets wild. Piers asks, how is wanting to defund the NYPD not immediately disqualifying for mayor? And Marc's response, why would that be disqualifying? Are you kidding me right now? Lindy brings the facts. 40% of murders in New York City are unsolved. Let that sink in. 40%. That means families are sitting at home right now with no justice, no closure, no answers, and Mamdani's solution is to defund the people trying to solve these cases? How does that make any sense? And Marc wants to act like this is just a policy disagreement. No. This is about safety. This is about whether New Yorkers can walk down the street without fear. This is about whether businesses can operate without getting robbed. This is about whether your grandmother can ride the subway without worrying about her safety. These aren't theoretical debates. These are real consequences of policy choices. Then Lindy drops another bomb. 25% of New Yorkers want to leave because of current policies. That's not just dissatisfaction, that's people voting with their feet. When a quarter of your city is looking for the exit, maybe, just maybe, something isn't working. And let's talk about the candidates being promoted. Marc and Luntz want to prop up Cory Booker and Wes Moore. Booker already tried running for president, and voters weren't interested. He was polling at 1-2%. The American people already made their choice. And the concerns Lindy raises about Moore's military record deserve scrutiny. These are supposed to be the future leaders. This is the bench. It's honestly disappointing at this point.
About the importance of Prop 50. yes, it's important, but I also think it's a gift to Republicans because in this case, it allows Republicans to tie Gavin Newsom's failed policies to him. There's no way to disentangle the two. We are now able to tie $7 per gallon gas to Gavin Newsom. We can tie homeless encampments all across the state to Gavin Newsom. And you know what, Gavin Newsom, this is all about him running for 2028. This wasn't about the people of California.
Right. This well, it may be.
Well,
hang on. Don't talk at once. Hang on. Okay, I'll come to you, Mark, in a moment. But Vinny, I did find, Mark was asking me, well, what's wrong with saying defund the NYPD? I think a lot. If somebody was running for mayor of London on a ticket of defund the Metropolitan Police, I would think that's completely disqualifying, right?
What is defunding
the idea that you brand? Well, hang on, Mark. I'll come back to you.
Hold on, Mark. He asked me a question, Mark. What are you talking about, bro? You're the mayor of the city, and you're saying to defund the police department, and you don't think that's some crazy outlandish ish to say?
He's actually not saying that. He's actually not saying that.
When I tell you,
well, he did say that.
God, listen,
he did say
Aaron.
that.
Not during the campaign.
Aaron, your job
not during the campaign, but it is on his record.
Every single lie.
Yes, sure. Let him finish.
It's on his record. And let me explain something, Piers. A couple of lies. He hates billionaires, right? Who funded his campaign? Soros, okay? He lied about defunding the police. He said he took that back. He lied about his aunt wearing a hijab on the subway. She wasn't his aunt, and she wasn't in New York City. Hold on. And he wants to legalize prostitution. And he wants to legalize prostitution. Or am I lying about that?
No, he doesn't.
You have to stick up. Your narrative has to stick it. You have to. Because you're full of it, bro. And hold on, last thing, and I'll give you the floor.
Everything you just said is
and Lindy nailed it. Cory Booker, hold on, I'll give you the floor. Give me 10 seconds. Piers, you heard Frank Luntz, and Lindy's right. They want to name all these Democrats. What's the first order of business that Newsom, Cory Booker, Westmoreland, they're all going to do? Number one, they're going to open up the border because they love illegals, okay? That's going to be number one. So every American that's watching this, don't get it twisted.
Okay, Vinny.
The moment a Democrat comes into power, the border's wide open. And what are you going to do? Nothing, because nobody...
Lindy is absolutely on point right now. She's right about Prop 50 creating accountability, because now California voters can directly connect leadership to policy outcomes. $7 gas? That's a leadership decision. Homeless encampments affecting quality of life? That's a policy choice. Businesses leaving the state? That's the result of the regulatory environment being created. And you know what? She's right that political ambitions often override local concerns. These career politicians sometimes seem more focused on their next position than fixing current problems. California deserves leaders focused on California, not using it as a resume builder for higher office. But Vinny brings up the contradictions that really matter. He points out that Mamdani claims to oppose billionaire influence, but accepted funding from major donors. He walked back his defund police stance when it became politically inconvenient. There were questions about stories he told on the campaign trail that didn't check out. And Vinny asks directly, what about the prostitution legalization position? Because that is part of his platform. You can't just cherry pick which parts of someone's record to discuss. Voters deserve the full picture of what they're voting for. Here's what Vinny nails at the end. There's a pattern with certain politicians on border enforcement. When they get power, enforcement becomes the lowest priority. That's not speculation. That's looking at actual policy records. And when Vinny talks about consequences not affecting everyone equally, he's pointing out real hypocrisy. The people making these policies often don't live with the same day-to-day impacts that regular citizens face. That's not fear-mongering. That's pointing out accountability gaps that voters should consider. So what do you think of this? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.